stream cut. Forced by Underspark.
Kids run laps if they were late to homeroom after that class. But that meant they were late for my class first up. So they were punished for being late, but the consequence resulted in them being late. I'll never understand any punishment in school that involves preventing kids from learning more, like being late to classes or just straight up suspended. It really doesn't make sense to me. Because like you're an institution to teach these children, and then if they do something wrong, you pull them out of classes, they're no longer learning. Punish them instead of teaching them like why not to do what they did or whatever. You just send them home for a week or something.
Exactly.
I know that's like pretty far removed from what this was talking about, but it just got me thinking because they're missing part of a class. Story 55, almost enforced. Dividing the cafeteria by gender.
What the hell? Oh my god, I remember my school almost did a thing where we sat boy, girl, boy, girl, boy, girl. Like, bruh. It's stupid. I straight up... I hate when I'm not the person starting anything and I get punished because some dumbass had to ruin the privilege for everybody else. That makes me freaking livid. I tell you, actual livid. Like, we had a rule where if you could eat candy, but if one idiot leaves a wrapper behind, like, candy was banned for the rest of the class. And some idiot ruined it a month in. To whoever you are, why? You suck. Come on.
Cool. Before lunch, we'd be in class, which we would call Class A. We had 2 lunch periods, one at the end of Class A and one at the beginning of Class B. After lunch, we went straight to Class B. For whatever stupid reason, they wanted us to sit with our classes at lunch. This rule was just 100% power tripping, as we went to a different class after, so it's not like it makes transitions easier or anything. And even if it did, let people sit with who they want. People never followed the rule, obviously, so one day a supervisor randomly walked in class one day and announced the cafeteria would be divided into 2 sides, boys and girls. Yes, they told us their stupid reasoning. They said if we started, everyone got upset and talked about protesting by sitting in the middle of the floor, and the school never enforced it. I guess either from angry students and or parents, or maybe we shaved up, whatever. I hated that school with every ounce of my body.
I hate when schools do that and they just exploit their freaking power.
A rule my school has is seated lunch. Basically knocking 15 to 20 minutes off of our lunch break. We have to sit down and have the teachers watch us eat. Like most of us wouldn't eat if we weren't forced to or something. Most of us are smart enough to eat when we're hungry. We're given detentions if we don't sit down and are assigned places to eat.
If you assign places to eat in cafeteria and they haven't been doing anything wrong, you're a criminal.
And threats along with them. So my school decided to draw blue lines across campus in various places. They then told us for our safety during all lunches and breaks we could not pass the blue lines nor use the upstairs bathrooms. We were all mad because what the hell? Keeping us contained is perfect for someone to just open up on us. We're packed like sardines into the lower campus in quad. Eventually they laid off the upper campus bathroom rules. The next year's when they laid off the blue lines rules, which sucks, because we had to deal with it for a year, but I was cool with the upper campus guards, so I was able to go through some cracks. Yeah, I gotta know what their intention was here. Keeping you all contained is somehow supposed to fight against school shootings? I don't know.
Oh yes, let's fight against school shootings by, you know, packing all the students into one convenient area. What could go wrong? Oh.
Story 58. I graduated in 1984, so
heaven forbid the shooter has a frickin' explosive device and just lobs it in there and gets about 11 or 20 of the students from one explosive. Yeah, that I don't know how that could go wrong.
And 91 to 100 was an A, no problem. We got a new principal for my sophomore year, and she wanted the scale to be raised so we could be more college-like. A B was then raised to 87 to 93, and an A was a 94 to 100.
Damn.
Teachers and students didn't like this, and we tried to have it changed, but no luck. In my junior year, the principal raised the scale to 89 to 94 for a B, and 95 to 100 for an A.
Isn't it like 89
Now,
to 95 for an
the
A
principal still got her way.
minus?
Some of the students actually sent in bomb threats to the principal's house, but eventually the principal
Yeah.
went from high school to university. The scale went down. I think it got easier to get an A. I don't remember exactly, but I think an A in my university started at 80%, and in high school it started at 85. So I don't know what this principal was on, but a bag size limit was put in place. I will say it was a generous bag size, not big enough to include totes, but they could have went smaller than they did if they wanted to be jerks. Story 60. I have a couple of dumb rules, but being in a southern state, more than a couple of the students liked to wear boots. The rule makes the students who wear long pants untuck them, as in the pant leg has to go over the boot. It was honestly stupid. You could hide a gun, knife, etc. in a boot alone, but with the pants leg over the boot, it was like a hidden sleeve. Story 61. Anything dress code related was only enforced if you were a problem student. If the teachers liked you or if your parents were rich and donated, then you could get away with a rainbow mohawk. That legitimately happened. But in my case, I managed to upset the she-devil of an assistant principal, and was completely in the right for the situation she was angry about. After several minutes of floundering, she said, "And you're going to have to cut that off. It's against dress code," while smirking and gesturing at a single square inch of purple in my hair. Not even a minute after she was done saying that, one of the faculty's kids came into the office with his traditional head of navy blue hair that he'd been keeping dyed for 2 years. I got my GED the same year. My kids will be homeschooled. Okay. I don't think homeschooling is necessarily the answer here. Like, there's a happy medium in between. But hey,
Honestly,
your kids
same here.
the English block, where some of the toilets that people used at lunch were. For some reason, people were only allowed to use the toilets for the first half hour of lunch, and then not allowed to use them for the last half hour.
Why?
It was my job to tell people they couldn't use them if they came in the last half hour. Of course, this rule is stupid, so I usually let people use it anyway, because I'm not about to tell a guy in a year or two above mine that he can't go pee. One time, one of the hard English teachers saw me letting a dude in and berated me for not doing my job. Kinda had an argument with her and asked her what I was meant to do if they just went in, because that's usually what people did. She said I couldn't physically stop them, but I couldn't leave my post to go get someone. So for the rest of the year, when someone came in at the last half hour of lunch, I would just say, "Hey, you're not supposed to use the bathroom right now, but if you do, I can't physically stop you or leave to grab someone, so go ahead." Teacher pulled me aside about it a few times, but couldn't exactly punish me because I was following exactly what she said. Story
Good
63.
job.
Not punishing girls. They can't even scold them. Not the teacher and not anyone.
Dude,
So
it
just
doesn't matter your
happens a
gender, you
lot.
should be
Some girls are at the
punished
back
or
talking
scolded.
all loud,
No
taking
one should get
advantage of
out.
the stupid rule. And the teacher says, "All boys stand up," even though they know it's not the boys' fault. We talked to the principal about this and complained to our parents and ended up always ignored. And almost all schools in my area have the same rule. I want to admit in any girls' school in my area, because hitting or punishing any kid there gets the teachers in trouble. Talk about double standards. Story 64. My elementary school had these stupid stoplights in the lunchroom that would turn red if we were too loud. So there we were, 107-year-olds that couldn't talk above a whisper, because every time it went red, we would lose 5 minutes of our 15-minute recess. Because the best way to
Dictatorship.
get kids that have been sitting at a desk for too long would be to take away the one thing that lets them work it off. Story 65. In 8th grade, water bottles of all kind, transparent and opaque, were banned, because some kid had the bright idea of bringing a clear water bottle filled with vodka into class and passing it around. The teacher caught wind after catching, wind of the smell. For the rest of the year, kids were not allowed to have any kinds of
Oh,
water
I'd be
bottles.
pissed.
If you were thirsty, you had to hope the teacher would let you go to the water fountain, or you had to buy a Coke Zero from the vending machine. Well, I could only imagine what would happen if they filled a Coke
Which is
Zero
basically, the
can
vending
with
machines are
then
so
there'd be water
expensive.
fountain time for you. Story
And they have the
66.
worst shit
You
ever.
weren't allowed to say Chad. One of the most popular teachers at the school got
Well,
a boyfriend.
heaven
She
forbid
was
you
taken
lived
out
in
to
the
students in
African
his
country
name,
of Chad.
All the students started using Chad whenever they could. Fill in the blank responses, story assignments, writing it on the walls, team names, nicknames for each other, name tags, etc.
Respect.
The school decided to punish those who said it after some time. Crazy times. Story 67. At no point could you have your phone. This seems pretty normal, until you take into account...
Yeah, I love when
you have your
people
phone to
are
go
able to
until
legally
tomorrow
steal
if
your
you were
shit.
when the final bell went, and you
Isn't
were
that
walking
cool
out
when
of
schools
school.
can legally
One time
just
someone
take your
got their phone
stuff?
taken off them right before they left the gate because they were still on school grounds. It gets worse though. This was a zero tolerance thing. Parents in the hospital? Oh, too bad. Have proof you did your homework on your phone? That's a shame. Can't show it. Literally just using it as a calculator to do homework on break? Hand it over. You'll get it back at the end of the day. One of my friends used it to quickly check the time since in the lunch hall there were no clocks and none of us had watches, and a teacher saw and wouldn't stop yelling at her to hand it over. I got a detention for pointing out that the teacher was just ignoring what my friend says and being a jerk dictator. Story 68. I'm old, but not that old. In the mid-90s, I got sent to the principal's office for listening to my Walkman at lunch. Ever spoke to the principal. I asked her why I wasn't allowed to have it, and she couldn't give me an answer. She pulled out the big old book of rules and let me sit in the waiting room to find the specific place it was mentioned, which, I know, right? All I could find is that students weren't supposed to carry expensive electronics for fear they would be lost or stolen. My Walkman was $10 from the Kmart, and the batteries were held in it with the duct tape. It wasn't even a Discman. Anyhow, the principal kind of brushed it off and said I could do whatever I wanted. But whenever I had my Walkman on, some teacher would come up and bug me about it, and it just became a hassle, so I gave it up. Story 69. I went to a Catholic elementary school.
Oh boy.
We were all a bunch of first to third graders. There was one rule that we couldn't break when we started drawing pictures for an assignment or just in general. You can only color the person either white or peach. This means you can't color them black, brown, yellow, etc.
Wow, so we're devolving the racism. Got it.
God, where a cross is hanging on a wall while you beg for forgiveness for what you have sinned. Then, in about 5 to 15 minutes, you're out of the room and back to what you're doing.
Wait, what?
As someone who is a visible minority, I just think this is hilarious. This means you can't color them black, brown, yellow, etc. If you get caught, you're sent to a room where you have to pray to God.
Oh, hell no. Nah, dude, I'd be drawing pentagrams.
Then, about 5 to 15
Honestly, dude, I need a speedrun getting banned. 1,000 subs before June 30th, 2025, I'll speedrun church bands. Draws pentagram, learns how to speak in satanic tongue. Hey man, I've played a little bit of some Doom. I can definitely practice a bit. I have a couple weeks of experience, lol. It just starts playing Doom.
This is hilarious.
It'd be funny if they banned Doom, because technically that's like the holiest game ever. You're killing demons.
First of all, and the punishment is even funnier. What sin have they committed? Oh no, they drew a person with brown skin.
Whoa, heaven forbid someone... You know, heaven forbid we draw someone with brown skin, even though, you know, brown-skinned people were technically first. There's probably a lot of brown-skinned people in the Bible, just saying. But, yeah, I guess they've sinned. Ah.
By parents every week, with a punishment for forgetting a signature. I just found mine last week whilst clearing out the loft, and 1 week read as the following. Monday, achieved 100% in advanced sciences exam. Tuesday, achieved a solid B grade on RE examination, which you should aim to consolidate upon throughout the year. Wednesday, after school detention on Thursday, weekly planner not signed. Really reminded me how petty and power tripping my teachers were. I'm so sorry I forgot an arbitrary signature whilst I was busy achieving 100% for you. Perhaps if we didn't have multiple exams a week to cram our heads full of knowledge for, then the petty crap might not filter out so easily. Story 71. Girls' underwear could not be colored. The summer uniform was a white dress and the
shit.
had a white blouse. Both were made of pretty thin materials. So
watch boys bring in any type of colored underwear they want. Like, okay. That's kind of creepy. I gotta know who the hell made that rule. It's gotta be some weird ass dude who probably has some questionable history or some background that should be investigated.
Hold up. A lot of girls got sent home before the rule got relaxed. Story 72. Banned our school bags, so we had to put everything in our locker and hold all our books and pencil cases for 2 periods, then go back to our locker after. We hated this rule, so a load of girls grabbed handfuls of tampons to carry around with us to protest the stupid rule.
Good job. That's respect right there.
They also tried to enforce school drawstring bags. They made the year 7s and 8s try out these cheaply made paper bag things for a few days before enforcing them on the school. They all broke before lunch. That rule was also scrapped that very day. Why? Why do schools hate bags so much? I never knew this was a thing.
Because people are afraid they can carry a gun inside one.
At least, very purpose-made.
Like, I get it, but it's like, dude, no one's carrying a gun inside this freaking bag.
You weren't allowed to bring anything unhealthy into the school for lunch.
Oh, hell no.
If a teacher saw you with something unhealthy, you would get a lecture and your parents were contacted.
Oh no.
Healthy eating school scheme.
Oh no, I'm eating something healthy. Piss off. It's not your business what I eat.
Pizza, brownies,
Dick.
among other things. Most people opted for school dinner in the end. Story 74. My middle school tried to enforce no logos or imagery larger than 2 by 2 inches of any kind. Of course, this was...
Well, you know what? If that happened, I'd go around that school and start destroying every one of their logos. Hey, you said no logos. So I'm going to start destroying your school board, and I'm going to graffiti it and block it out. Because, hey, you created the rules, I'm going to enforce them just like you are.
With no consequences as the school year went on. A troublemaker in my class wore an offensive shirt to class one day, and it was towards the end of the school year. I can't remember what her shirt depicted, but it was something about drug use. After the teacher told her that she was going to have to change or turn her shirt inside out, she took the first opportunity to point out I was also breaking the rules. The teacher had no choice but to call me out as well, but it was that my pants weren't compliant. Since I couldn't change pants, my mom was called to pick me up early. What was on my pants? A large flower design, bigger than 2 by 2 inches.
What?
I was sent home for wearing a flower pattern on my pants at 12 years old. Obviously, the rule only lasted a year. Story 75. No chapstick, lip gloss, or anything like it in middle school. This crap used to get on my nerves. And in high school, they had one teacher who forbid us from using anything with fragrance in it because she was allergic. No lotion, no hand sanitizer, no perfume, nothing. And this same teacher wouldn't let us put our hands on our face.
I get that
Full
rule.
body rashes from it.
Like the
I don't know if I could
only
agree with
actual
you
good
here,
rule on that
Story
list.
76. UK comprehensive. All UK schools have a uniform for clarity to our American friends. A lot of the big comps also have a lower school
What a
and upper
waste of
school
money.
just as a way of identifying where classes were, as they are spread over large spaces. I know a few that were over a mile getting one end to the other.
Damn.
This school for its entire 100-odd years had been blazer/shirt and tie, and skirts or trousers for the girls. Guys could wear trousers or tailored shorts. Then my first year they randomly
Just troll him
decided to
I just troll him by
summer uniform,
wearing a
so
skirt
you
in
could
there.
either wear a shirt, tie, blazer,
piss 'em
or
off.
you could wear polo shirts instead. Deputy head of lower. You don't need to tuck in the polo shirt. It looks pretty daft, so official policy is leave it untucked. Deputy head of upper. Detention and letter home for insubordination. Yes, insubordination was a word used in the letter. Head teacher. What the hell do you think you're wearing? You're supposed to be in a shirt, tie, blazer. Just putting a school logo on a polo shirt doesn't make it part of the uniform. Then you'd remind him of the uniform change and insist he'd ask the deputy head. And depending on which deputy head he asked, you were told off for tucking the shirt in or told off for having it untucked. You could tell the jerks from the goody-goodies real quick. The goody-goodies went back to shirt, tie, and blazer. The jerks would purposefully wear the shirt tucked in lower school and untucked in upper school. Teachers thought it was
I just wear my uniform but cut out
hilarious
the logo of the school just to piss them off.
Just the three at the top that kept the argument for that summer term. Story 77. Running got banned in our school because two smooth-brained people ran full pelt into each other and put themselves in the hospital. So they banned running not just in the corridors and rooms.
That's just
but
natural
during break
selection.
And during PE.
Let me run.
The replacement to running? Skipping. Seeing 22 teenage boys skipping after a soccer ball was somehow offensive to sports. At sports day, the school
Dude, wouldn't skipping be more dangerous?
Which is when parents decided that the school was being moronic and forced them to change. This doesn't sound real. This sounds like a skit, right? There's no way a school would think that works for sports. Although watching a whole field of people, like, essentially galloping after a ball is pretty funny. Story 78. Students were, quote, ruining the grass on the sports field, using it to sit on / play sports at lunch. So they put a fence up around the whole field with one little gate in. So now everyone legitimately using the field for at least 2 sports classes per week had to enter through one small space. It destroyed the grass all around the fence. Since it got such increased footfall with thousands of students using it per week, it looked way worse than the apparent destruction from the light use of before. Story 78. My high school had an honest student who got too close. The teacher would scold them and tell them to stay away.
Piece of shit. That's actual discriminatory.
Since it was an unofficial rule that wasn't written down or documented,
Screw that school.
The higher-ups didn't really pay attention when the other kids spoke out about it. It only lasted
Dude,
for about 2
that's
years.
like putting water and freaking cesium in the same box and expecting for something not to explode.
I went to a private school for a few years and you had to pay money to the school to use your phones. They had
No,
this whole,
you can die.
$100 a quarter, and if you didn't pay it, no phones allowed. Also, not really an official rule, but they said that I had to pray, although I didn't observe their religion.
No, I don't care.
I respect that
You
their
can
religion as
eat
anyone
it.
should, but you can't force me to worship. Also
Same.
progressed to mockery and stereotyping of my religion, and racial slurs not so much as targeted towards me, but towards African Americans. Yeah, that one.
You don't get to be discriminatory towards me and force me into your religion. No thanks.
Hey, don't forget to pray to the east before you eat. And started laughing at me. I'm not even Muslim.
Nah, I'd be praying to Satan at that school just to piss him off.
Red, white, or black polo with black or khaki pants. We could make any combo we wanted with those colors except black polo with black pants. Apparently it was some gang thing. Little did they know I ended up wearing all black every day in high school anyway. Never got proposition to join a gang. Also, we weren't allowed to carry backpacks during the day. We had to keep our backpacks in our lockers and go between every class to get books or supplies.
Yeah, schools wonder why people hate them. It's because they're so strict. They're like dictatorships.
Story 82. My school was run by idiots and is still rated the worst in my city 10 years later. 1. You could only eat in the main hall and outdoor hallway, and only the main hall bought food from there, so they were always packed with the younger kids, so the older kids had nowhere to eat. Couldn't eat on the field that had bins, and couldn't eat in the room you'd go to where you had free lessons with bins, so you were forced to sneak eat. It was ridiculous. 2. If you hadn't done any after-school club through all your school years, they would try to force you to do one on your last year, regardless of whether you were a carer for a relative and had to be home, or for any other valid reason.
That's
3.
stupid.
If you came to the school with the wrong trousers or shoes, etc., because let's say something happened to them and you were poor or whatever, they would tell you to get a slip from the office to take with you in lessons. But every freaking teacher you passed or went into lesson with would tell you off and most likely send you to isolation for the rest of the day like jerks. 4.
Wow.
You couldn't take this shortcut in the school. You had to go all the way around the school when you could just pass through a 7-meter hallway that no one used. Also, the school classroom layout sometimes meant you had to cut through a classroom to get to yours because there was no other way of getting there. And even though you had to go through or your teacher asked you to go through to get something, you'd get a hissy fit from another teacher because apparently cutting through a class that doesn't even give a crap is the end of their life. So you're screwed either way. 5. Being bald was banned. I'm not even joking. You were allowed to be bald, so God help if anyone had a medical condition where their hair falls out. 6. You had to have only black or blue bottoms in sports. You could have the most appropriate sports bottoms, but if they were gray or a tiny stripe of red, you can't take part. There's plenty more, but I try not to remember that crap hole. Story 83. In my last year with a month to go, my black shoes broke, so I came to school in my smart dark brown shoes. The deputy head would not let me into the building unless I took off my brown shoes and put on some of the disgusting communal plimsolls they save for when kids were wearing trainers. I flat out refused, as it seemed mad to me since I was wearing perfectly functional footwear. I'd never been in trouble before, but they got quite aggressive and sent me to isolation. Basically a day of solitary confinement, as punishment. But I just left the school through a back door on my way and walked home. Sort of unrelated, but I've never heard the word plimsoll in my life. I could tell through the rest of it that this one was aggressively British, though. I just mean very British, I don't mean they were aggressive. But communal shoes in general, isn't that just like a sanitary concern?
Huh?
I guess they clean them probably, but I don't know. After reading this thread, I don't have all that much faith in school, I guess. Story 84. I went to a high school that helped the male athletes above everything else. America, think middle of nowhere farm, very redneck type town. The school would constantly hoard the athletic funding for the boys team and give the female athletes leftover, used up, dirty, nasty equipment and uniforms from the boys team when they would buy the boys team new uniforms and equipment every single season. The worst was the uniforms.
Oh, so you can use these guys to actually get limited resin.
Girls varsity soccer team was in the top 5 of our district, and we won many tournaments and championships. Our team had more trophies in the trophy case than the boys soccer team. We begged for new uniforms, as the ones we had were horribly outdated, old, and had been passed to the team from the boys' team many years prior. The school decided to buy the boys' soccer team brand new uniforms and warm-up gear, and again, passed the boys' old uniforms to the girls. Most unwashed. Crap like this happened all of the time. We had separate training fields, and the girls' training field was a glorified field that was mud every single time it rained, while the boys had a full pro-style field. Then there's the horrible double standard for code of conduct for male versus female athletes. The boys literally got away with sin and crime, while us girls had to darn near be nuns. Story 85.
That sucks.
Not really a school enforcement, but a teacher in middle school enforced a no cell phone policy on me once. This was back in 2002, 2003. I had after-school club activities, so my parents gave me a cell phone so I could let them know when it was done. I finished up my club stuff and I was sitting on the steps outside the school with my friend. I let my parents know we were ready, and as soon as I hung up, a teacher came out and confiscated my phone. This must have been around 5 p.m. because the sun was about to set. At the time, I was scared my parents were going to be mad at me for losing the phone. In hindsight, though, that was just a jerk move by the teacher. I get why teachers would hate phones. It's come up a lot in this thread. And yeah, they can be distracting, people can be messing around on them or whatever.
It's like,
but
bro,
they're
a tool.
2002, 2003, that's not a smartphone. If a kid in 2002 was pulling out their flip phone and trying to play Snake on it or whatever, you would hear those keys clack from across the classroom. They wouldn't be hiding anything. You don't need to take it away for the whole day for that. And also, outside, on the steps, like maybe 5 p.m., calling their parents. Ooh, is this school helping? Were they disrupting your class? Well, no, that can't be it. There were no classes. So really, I just can think of no reason why this school was enforced. Anyway, after this fun thread, that's the last story. Did your school have any stupid rules that were mentioned to you?
My school was mostly chill. BAM! Hello. And there you go. That just produced some of the most violent explosions in Minecraft. Nice. There we go. We finally got one. You know how long I've been waiting to do that on this server? BAM! Charge creeper right there. Now I really want to get a creeper skull. Damn, you know it's strong. Right, yeah, I hear you. Hello, how's it going? You know it's strong when even netherite armor it makes you crippled. Bruh. There you go. Wait, what? Oh. Hell yeah, let's get two of them. Yeah! Dude, those explosions are extremely violent. Wow. That was close. There we go, now we got flexing right. Look what we got. We got the creeper charge pattern. So cool to have mob heads. By the way, that village spawned in. I don't know why, where it came from, but that's weird how it just spawned in. I'm gonna take a break, guys. I'm not sad, I'm tired. I'll be back.